Hey guys, today I'm going to defend Eli Manning for a change. And that might seem surprising since for a long time I wrote what was known as the Eli Manning Sucks, or rather, the official Eli Manning Sucks blog. But I am honestly perfectly content to let Eli Manning play out the rest of the season without being questioned as the starter. Because, finally, for the first time in Eli Manning's career, he is being called out by everyone for his poor play. And until now, that has never happened. Everyone has just made excuses for him left and right because he is the Manning. Eli is elite. He is the first round draft pick. He's the franchise. He has never been criticized. He has been just Teflon for all of his career until now. And I am so happy to see him finally getting criticism for it. And in fact, to be perfectly honest, he doesn't even deserve some of this criticism because he's been playing in some categories the best football he ever has in his career. This season, he is on pace to throw the fewest interceptions he ever has, which is amazing. He has always been a high interception quarterback, and you have always defended him for it. You know what? He has always heard excuses like, oh, well, half of those interceptions were like tipped balls or something, right? And, some of those interceptions, the receiver could have done a little bit more to, he ran the wrong route, or there was a miscommunication that was always to be blamed on the receiver, or that long third down interception was basically as good as a punt because that they would have punted on the next play anyway. So big deal, right? These were excuses for interceptions you don't give any other quarterback in the history of the NFL, but you gave to Eli Manning. So now that he's throwing fewer interceptions, that should be celebrated, right? And he's throwing the highest completion rate he ever has in his entire career. Why is that a bad thing? He's throwing a lot of dump-off passes, but he did that very early on in his career as well. He would throw a lot of situationally inconsiderate third down dump-off passes that were guaranteed not to get the first down. But you know what? His receivers aren't playing that well this year. His line isn't playing that well this year. He's not surrounded by the same talent that he was in the past, except Saquon Barkley and Odell Beckham. So throwing some of these dump-off passes, those are legitimately the best decisions he could be making, and that is okay. But criticize him. Feel free. I'm not going to complain. Finally, I want to see this criticism being thrown at him, the same kind of criticism that I would have thrown at him these past 14 years. And you know what? At the end of the season, he's definitely going to retire. He's not going to get cut because he cares about his image too much. So he will definitely retire, leave the Giants, cement his legacy. Rate-wise, like I said, he's always had a high incompletion rate, a high interception rate, a low quarterback rating. But one of the good things about Eli Manning, one of his strong points, and I mean this in all sincerity, he has never gotten injured. And because of that, he's been able to compile a lot of career-long stats. He's going to finish his career in the top 10 for passing yards and touchdowns. After he retires, he will be passed by Roethlisberger, Rivers, Rodgers, to name a few, and that'll push him out of the top 10. But at the time he retires, he will be considered Hall of Fame level in those terms, because that's usually what you consider for the Hall of Fame, where he was at the point of his retirement. And yeah, he's probably going to make the Hall of Fame because of those career-long stats and because of those 2 Super Bowls. He did win the MVP in those 2 Super Bowls, for leading the offense on a whole 2 touchdown drives in the entire game. Nothing that any other quarterback would win the Super Bowl for. Well, sometimes other quarterbacks just kind of win the MVP by default because when no one else plays particularly well, that's what you got to do. The Giants' real MVP in those 2 Super Bowl victories over the Patriots was the defense, stopping Tom Brady, holding them to less than 2 touchdown drives that Eli Manning was able to put up. But you know what? That's okay. Whatever. I've come to terms with the fact that he's probably going to enter the Hall of Fame, even though he has been a mediocre quarterback his entire career. And whatever. Just because he cried his way to the top of the draft, cried his way into a trade. When we tried to bench him last year, he was just passive-aggressive the whole time. Some people in the media said he took it with class, but no, he absolutely did not. He just threw his little silent passive-aggressive tantrum, let his father and the media do all the defending for him, got his coach fired, and was guaranteed to be the starter for the entirety of this year because of it, no matter how bad he is, no matter how bad the team is. So this is your fault. Criticize him all you want. You do not have the right to force him into being benched now. This is Eli Manning at his peak. Let him play it out, and from now on, there's a new future starting next year, but at least for the remainder of this year, for the remaining 6 or 7 games, leave Eli Manning alone.